Hey guys, this is going to be a little bit different type of video for you if you're one of my subscribers. But you probably came across this video just doing a search on how to solder or sweat copper pipes. But I'm just putting this for my channel just as something different. And my channel is mainly small engine and electrical videos, so you might want to check that out while you're here too. But anyway, I'm just going to give you a few pointers on soldering copper pipe. This is 1/2 inch. I got a couple elbows and a coupler here, and everything else we need to get started. This is real handy here. It's a wire brush for 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch pipe. This part will clean the pipe, and the smaller part will clean the inside of the fittings before you solder it. And you have to clean it, even with everything being new, you still have to clean it just to make sure the solder is going to stick and flow out good. You also need flux. This is another point I'm going to talk about. This is actually silver solder. Used to be able to use what was called acid core solder, which was a lead-based solder, but the building codes and everything has changed, and basically doing away with lead-based solder for everything except old construction. So if you're doing some work to an old house or something, you can get by with lead-based, but I recommend just using the silver and everything, just so you don't have to worry about it. And the whole point behind that is, like, in between the fittings, the water does make direct contact with the solder inside, but so it's possible to have trace amounts of lead in the water if you use the old type solder. So I just recommend using the silver solder, and it is a different type of flux. This flux is it's white compared to like a gray or black type with the old type solder. You need a propane torch, a tubing cutter, and what you see here is basically all you need. And this brush is for the flux to apply on there. So I'm going to go ahead. We're not going to be actually doing this in a house. We're just putting a couple pieces together here on the workbench. And so it's a pretty standard way of cutting any type of tubing like that. Every 2 or 3 turns, you want to turn this in about a 1/4 turn to put a little more pressure on it. This is a real old tubing cutter. You see it's putting a wear mark on here because the rollers are actually locked up, so it really needs to be replaced. I'll go ahead and cut a couple more pieces here, then we'll do a little, we'll put everything together here and I'll show you how to solder. Alright, so I just cut 3 random length pieces here. We're just going to put these 3 fittings together. Got 2 elbows and a coupler. They also have a sticker always on them with a barcode on it. I always like to take them off as much as I can. You don't necessarily have to because it'll burn off anyway, but it's just kind of annoying. But the first thing you got to do after you cut the pipe is take the deburring tool and go around inside here like this just to clean out any burrs. It's not super critical on this, but it is something you should do just so you know you won't have no problems or anything, or little pieces of metal coming off later on. Alright, so after you deburr the inside, you want to use this tool to clean the outside. Just go around for just a little bit. See the difference here? Even though this is brand new, it still needs clean to get it down like that. And you have to do the inside of the fittings. It's not necessary to do the outside of them. So I'm going to go ahead and do this on all these, and then we'll get right back to you. Alright guys, so I got this in my vise here. Like I said, you wouldn't be doing this if it was something you're actually going to be using, but it's not critical in this case. I'm just doing it to help hold it. Got everything cleaned up. Really? Okay. So now you're ready to put some flux on the pipe. You don't need an extreme amount, but you want to make sure everything's coated. You have to use flux or the solder will not stick to it. It helps keep it clean while you're soldering. You want to start heating it. You want to apply the heat to both pieces. You don't want to get right up on it like this. Most of your heat's right towards the end of the flame, so that's what you want to do. You don't want to get it too hot or it'll start discoloring. You just want to keep touching it until you start seeing the solder melt on it. You just go around about a quarter way and it'll flow in all the way around. If it drips off like that, you put too much on it. You see it'll go all the way around like that, make a perfect seal on there. Of course, after you get done, you'll definitely want to pressure test everything, make sure there's no leaks. And also note, make sure that you put the pipe, the fitting in the exact spot that you want, because once it's soldered, you can't change it. Alright, I'll do one more on camera. Well, I'm going to do a coupler, so I'm going to go ahead and do this one off camera. Then we'll look at it when I put the coupler in the other piece. Let's get ready to start soldering this fitting here on this side. You make a note, you don't want to get it too hot or you will melt the solder on the other fitting. And that just causes you problems, so then you got to start all over on that one. And also note, if you're doing a repair, like on your house, you want to make sure all the water is drained out of this. If the pipe's partially full of water, it's going to interfere with the flux and the solder, and also it'll keep from getting it hot enough for the solder to melt, because it'll act like a heat sink and absorb all the heat. I'm not going to go into too much detail on the coupler because it's basically the same as an elbow, but one thing you got to pay attention to, all this is a sleeve. There's no stop inside here like a ridge or anything. So when you put it on there, you have to pay attention to how much you're putting it on. You want to get it right in the middle or close to it as possible. That's really the only note to bring up on this. I'm going to do this one a little bit different to show you how to avoid the heat from the other side interfering with it when the one you just did. Alright, so I already got both these pieces in the coupler and it's already got flux on it. I'm going to do them both at the same time. Then, since I already got the extra fitting, I'm just going to go ahead and do this off camera and we'll look at it here in a minute. Alright, so you always want to make sure that it flows out all the way around. Like I said, if you see the drop like this, it actually means you got too much solder. It should look more like this here. But you just want to make sure it's all the way around, because if it is, it'll seal off. Like I said, you always want to test everything though. But that's about it. I just want to make a video showing you a few pointers on soldering or sweating copper pipes in. So if you got any questions or comments, feel free to leave a comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.